it's going to be the responsibility of our generation of women to make sure that we take back the power. Over the years, I've got a lot of good advice, but the best piece of advice that I ever got was courage of conviction. My mom told me that, whether you're right or you're wrong, have the courage of conviction to admit it. And that just takes away the pressure of having to be something you're not. And I think that was the best piece of advice I ever got. It made me a lot more fearless. It made me unafraid to take choices, and it made me okay to admit when I was wrong. I think the one thing I would tell young people is we really spend a lot of time considering people that we don't know their opinions, and that dictates our behavior sometimes. You're constantly under a microscope, and your dinner table conversation, and people discuss every bit of your life, but that's not really reality. Reality is when you come back home and you're with your family and you're with your team and people who really actually care versus the anonymity of a computer online or something. So I would tell young people is to surround yourself by people who care about you, and to surround yourself by people who will tell you the truth, because that's the best way of keeping your grounding and being centered, and at the same time being ambitious. When I was a kid, I really looked up to my father very much. He was my greatest role model. I wanted to be like him. I used to wear his shoes, I used to wear his clothes, and they would puddle around my feet. But my dad was in the military, and he used to ride this bike, and he was also a physician. So I just, when I was under 10 years old, just wanted to be my dad. He was also a musician and life of a party. And then I got older and I started seeing other people around me, and there were so many, women as I have gotten older that I've admired. And that's really how I've built who I am, is by learning from people around me. So I wouldn't say I had one specific role model, but human beings really inspire me, and I love to find the goodness in people and imbibe that. I think empowerment comes in phases. I feel like confidence comes in phases. I feel most empowered when I'm prepared. I feel most empowered when I am aware of what is expected of me, and I've worked towards delivering that. I like fragility. I like to find vulnerabilities in my characters, and I think there's such a strength to accepting your vulnerabilities and being flawed and being okay with it. So with most of my characters, I don't like to find a bow to perfectly button them. I like to find the mess. That's what I tend to look for, and that's what I try to create within even the strength that most characters that I take on tend to be written as. I like to find the frailties within them that makes them stronger, I think. What I would love to do, which I'm actually seeking now, I would love to kind of have a portfolio of work in Hollywood like I have had in Bollywood. I've played genres of characters. I've worked with incredible filmmakers. I've, worked in a lot of variety of films, and now I'm starting to build that here as well, and that's a very exciting phase for me, is to be able to take on dramatic parts, to be able to take on movies that make me nervous, that challenge me. So yeah, I'm at that place right now. I always try to surround myself by people who tell me the truth. My team is a band of shark women, and I would be nothing without them. Those women, and there's one or two guys too, I love you guys too, but predominantly we're a band of boss women, and they're my pride and joy, honestly. This has been such a hard 2 years. I was away from home for like a year almost, and what is inspiring me now is, it'll sound silly, but I think just the idea of being home for the holidays. After a year with COVID, which was depleted, I think a lot of hope and a lot of loss and grief was in the air. And to see people getting, doing holiday shopping or the lights going up, the little things are giving me inspiration right now and joy. This is now early 2000s, so obviously the world has moved on, but we still are, a sort of patriarchal society. But I was always taught that it's the woman's responsibility to keep the peace. I was always taught I was taught at that time that it's the woman's responsibility to sort of be a little bit more invisible and, just shut up sometimes and don't be heard sometimes. And I learned very quickly that that was not me. It's a pet peeve of mine, when female characters are diminished, or they're made emotional, or they're made, that they can't take decisions because they're emotionally marred or whatever, versus the male characters. That's a big pet peeve of mine, and I've fought that in many, many, many jobs that I've done over time, and I'm okay fighting that. But it's a pet peeve of mine when female characters are written as weak because they're female. Well, I think emotional is great. I think sensitive is great. Somehow the world has sort of painted this picture that that's an impediment to our abilities to make decisions, versus I think that narrative was created by men, as usual, many years ago, to sort of take away the power that women have the ability to have strength and vulnerability at the same time, and clarity. We have the ability to achieve whatever we want. We have the ability to stand shoulder to shoulder with men, and at the same time, we're emotional, we're vulnerable, and that's great.